Today we are back in the garage and we've got a little bit of carbon fiber to install on my car. Back on Christmas Day, unfortunately I decided to take the car out. It was a decent day here in Cincinnati, so took the car out for Christmas, and when I was pulling the car back in the garage, unfortunately, since I didn't have my backup camera at the time, I backed up a little bit too far and ran into my zero-turn lawnmower. Just hit the rubber tire, which unfortunately was enough to cause a little bit of damage on my current diffuser. So I am not the type of person that can live with that sort of thing, knowing that that's there. I ended up purchasing a new one, same exact style, just from a different vendor. So today we're going to take the time to remove the current one and hopefully test fit the new one, and we'll see how that goes. Before we get into the uninstall of this current diffuser, I kind of wanted to talk about some of the questions that I've received about this diffuser. And so I get a ton of different DMs and questions about what exactly this diffuser is, where I purchased it from, and more importantly, how is the fitment. And so real quick, the diffuser I purchased brand new from RW Carbon. It's their Arkham style diffuser. RW Carbon sells replica diffusers, and so that's exactly what this is. My reason for purchasing from this particular vendor is that there are not very many 1x1 weave diffusers out on the market. A lot of the vendors, for some reason, don't offer a 1x1 weave, and so I wanted my entire car to match the carbon roof, which is 1x1 carbon from BMW. So all of the carbon on my car is 1x1 weave, and so I had to find a manufacturer, or a vendor rather, that sold a 1x1 piece. RW was one of those, and I'm a huge fan of this particular style. I know a lot of guys rock the GT4 diffuser, but to me that's so played out and it's so aggressive looking that it kind of kills the body lines. And so for me, this is a little bit smoother and it kind of flows a little bit better with the rear end. So that's kind of my purpose, my reason for buying. And so fitment, let's talk about fitment real quick. With any type of carbon fiber piece, you're gonna have fitment issues. And people claim that, Mode Carbon and Vorsteiner and some of these expensive manufacturers or suppliers, have really good fitment, but that just isn't the case. And from everything that I've read, it's like, why would you spend upwards of $1,500, $2,000 on some crazy diffuser when a lot of these manufacturers get them from the same overseas manufacturer? So my reason also with going with RW Carbon is it was more affordable. I've worked with them in the past before. My last M3, I think, had parts from them. My 335, I worked with them. I had a rear diffuser and a front lip from them. And, you can actually search on their website and see pictures of this particular car with this diffuser on. So they've used a lot of my pictures. They've used my pictures from my E90 335 on their website. And so, I've got a decent relationship with them. I've worked with them in the past, so I don't mind working with them in the future, again, on another car if I happen to get rid of this guy. But so fitment, like I said, is probably a 7 out of 10. It's not perfect, and if you look closely, I'll pull you in here. Alright, so I'm going to get you guys up close and personal here just to kind of show you what kind of fitment issues I am referring to. And so if you look closely here, there's a white line that goes all the way across here in between the diffuser and the bumper. So that is actually caulk. It's silicone-based caulk, and I know that's crazy to use, but this particular diffuser kept sagging right here, specifically in the middle. The double-sided tape was only doing so much, and so I figured, I would use the silicone, the caulk here, in between the diffuser and the bumper in order to help hold the diffuser up permanently. And so far, it's been pretty good. Obviously, you can see where it's kind of starting to come away here, but this is from when I backed the car up. into my lawnmower, and you can kind of see the damage here. So I definitely cracked the clear coat on this thing. Otherwise there's no like major cracks in the carbon. It's more so just the top layers of resin. And so that is enough right there to kill the entire piece for me, unfortunately. So, and I tried to cover it up just with some plastic dip that I had laying around just to make it black so it wasn't so noticeable, but I know that it's there, and so I cannot live with that. But anyway, so there were gaps all the way across this entire thing. And so the good thing was the gap was pretty even all the way across. Like maybe over here I used a little bit of extra caulk just because it was hanging a little bit more here than, you know, say on this side. My caulk line is not as thick. So I think I had more of an issue on this particular side. And so what happens is when they create these molds, they're using the same mold over and over and over again for the same piece. Eventually that mold is going to change, and so, you know, unfortunately that changes the fitment of the diffuser. So that's why a lot of people have fitment issues. But the good thing is RW Carbon does do like a quality check on all of their pieces before it goes out the door. So it's, you know, it's not going to be 100%, but like I said, 70-80%, they call it, that's good enough. So, and I will say underneath on the underside, it was not too bad either. Once we get it off here, I'll show you what it looks like, but there were mounting holes that actually mounted right up underneath with the underside of the bumper, and so I was able to unscrew the OEM bolts from underneath and, you know, screw it in the diffuser and the bumper both together, and so that was not an issue. All right, so like I said, as you can see, fitment is pretty good on this particular piece, so I'm really hoping that the new piece that I purchased is going to be something comparable. And so I'll talk about what the new piece is, where I bought that particular item, because it was not from RW Carbon. I wanted to try something different. Again, these things are so expensive for what they are, and there's a good chance that you're going to destroy them. It's just like my front lip. My front lip is from RW Carbon as well. And after I lowered my car, I went over a speed bump, scratched the underside of that, my splitter. And so it kind of, to me, it doesn't make sense to spend so much money on something that you're probably going to destroy. But that's just me. And then I also get questions from people like, oh, why didn't you buy a Varus diffuser? Well, I actually had a Varus diffuser that I didn't install. It was a 2x2 weave, and I was thinking, you know, maybe I can mix and match all the carbon on the car, but for me, who, you know, has borderline OCD, it would have drove me nuts knowing that there was 2x2 on the rear and the rest of the car was 1x1, and so I ended up selling that diffuser. And I know that they sell a 1x1 weave version of the Varus diffuser, but again, that's a $2,000 diffuser, and the one I had was authentic, and I opted to sell it and get something a little bit more tame. And so that diffuser is really awesome though. But again, this car has super clean body lines. This particular Arkham style diffuser looks really great on the car, and you know, the Varus is just really, really aggressive. Maybe if I had more of a track oriented build on this car, I would consider the Varus diffuser, which, you know, goes underneath the entire rear end of the car and is more of a purposeful diffuser, but we went with this. So let's go ahead and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna jack the car up. I think it'll be easier if I can get underneath here. So I'm actually gonna jack up both sides of the rear. And so we'll jack up the rear, and that way we can slide under here, and I can show you guys those particular mounting points all the way across, and we'll go from there. All right, so we're gonna jack up the car now. I'm using these little pieces here. These were custom made. A buddy of mine owns a distributorship for cabinet making supplies and services, and so he custom made these for me. These are made out of solid phenolic. Basically what I'm gonna do is, this is perfectly cut for the jack pads. So this will go on my jack, and will fit right onto the jack pad. That way we don't screw up the jack pads underneath, because you either need to have a special tool, or in the past I've used, you know, hockey pucks, but hockey pucks are really thick, and so I had him custom make these, and so this will go in between the jack and the jack pad.
Summer's mine. I swear I said it about 100 times. I'ma need it, girl. Wishing you would come and find me, just to tell me that I haven't changed. Girl, I need that from you. I'm getting money, just take care of me.
So I will say, one of the big negatives of having side skirt extensions is getting jacks underneath the car, because you're adding that extra thickness there on the side skirt. We finally did get it on there. The solid phenolic fits perfectly on those little jack pads, and so it's up in the air. So let's get started. All right, climbing under the car here, I forgot to show you guys the existing mounting points here for this diffuser. And so, like I mentioned, this diffuser had little tabs on the underside that matched with OEM holes for the bumper and stuff. So we're looking at one here. So this particular one here, perfect. And then if you scroll across here, there's the mufflers, or the muffler tips. There's another one there that matched up perfectly. Moving along down, there's another one here. And then finally, on the driver's side, there's one right there. So those are all 8mm bolts, and we'll unscrew those. And the only thing that's holding this thing on, that and some double-sided tape, which I've run, you know, across the entire upper part here, all the way across. And then obviously my caulk, so we'll have to pull that off as well. All right, so I've got my 8mm ratchet here, so I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew all 4 of these. I'm just hoping for good quality fitment on this other diffuser, because I was pretty happy with how this one turned out. I also purchased a GT4 diffuser on eBay, just because a lot of guys on the forum said that there were a couple, you know, eBay sellers that were decent, but from my experience, it was not good. And then on my previous M3, I had a Vorsteiner V2 replica, which I purchased from European Society Motorsports on Instagram, from Luis, super nice guy. That diffuser was awesome, fit really nicely as well. So it's just hit or miss, honestly. I just hope I don't crack this thing trying to get it off, because double-sided tape, it's pretty strong. So we've got those 4 bolts off now. I'm gonna try to give this a tug and see how it comes off. Normally I would try to protect the carbon and put a towel in between here. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do that anyway. Expendable towel here. Just gonna put in here to kind of protect, not scratch anything, if I can help it. Another towel for the other side. That was not a crack in the carbon, that was more so the double-sided tape. She's surprised at how well the tape is held up. Alright, as you can see, we're making a little bit of progress here. So there's my caulk line. Got it to maybe about here, got it loose up to here. This part is still all connected, and then I got it loose to about here-ish. And so I did double check on the underside here because I can kind of pull it down far enough to see the bumper, and I did not put any tape, double-sided tape on that side, so that should make things easier. We just need to work through this section here, and we should be able to get it off. I'm not using any tools or anything. I'm gonna try not to if I can help it. Although, kind of getting to this middle part here, and the tape, you can see the tape still holding up, so might try to get a trim tool or something in here, see if I can loosen that up. Alright, so I'm gonna use this little plastic trim tool here. Just something that's relatively soft that isn't gonna mar up the paint or anything, so. Just kind of chipping away at this tape, little by little.
I'm spending time, just take care of me right now. I'm getting money, just take care of me, girl. 'Cause you'll be tired of taking care of me right now.
Okay guys, so this is what we're left with here. I've got all this caulk to get off, which is probably going to suck. Still got remnants of some double-sided 3M tape along this portion. And then over here you can also see some more caulk. So we're gonna clean all that junk up and prep it for the new diffuser. So I also want to show you guys a side-by-side of the new one, which is in the rear, and this is the old one. So they're virtually identical. And so you can kind of see where I taped along this one here. So I did a big piece on the edge here, did a couple little pieces all the way across, and I didn't do anything here or here because they weren't really touching the bumper, so I left that part off. But there's the tape. So like I said, there's only 4 little bolts holding that whole thing on. The rest is tape. So you know, eventually this portion was starting to fail, like I mentioned, and so it was starting to sag, and that's why I decided to use caulk, which may seem kind of ghetto, but gets the job done. And thank God my car is white. But so there they are. They look pretty similar, to be honest with you. I also figured while we're here, I'll show you the damage from when I backed up. It's just this edge part. Most of this here is plastic dip runoff because I didn't really take the time to, you know, mask it off. I just kind of sprayed it in this little general vicinity, and we had a little bit oversprayed. So there's nothing under here, but it's mostly just this portion here, and no cracks otherwise. We got the whole thing off in one piece, didn't crack anywhere, and held up really nicely, so I'm happy. Okay, so before we go any further, I figured I'd talk about the new diffuser that we've got. So, like I mentioned, this is going to be the exact same style. This is the Arkham style diffuser. So both are identical in that regard. The difference here is I purchased one from RW Carbon, and the new one I actually purchased from CN Auto Fans. So if you look at them up on Instagram, there they are there. You can see that. It's CN Auto Fans underscore carbon. And so it's cnautofans.com. So it's a Chinese website, actually. I've heard from multiple people that have this have purchased from this particular site that Fitment is pretty good, so that's kind of why I gave them a chance. I'm gonna pull up the actual diffuser that I purchased just to show you how much they're charging for that, and then I guess it can be your decision whether or not to purchase.
This is their website. Again, it's cnautofans.com. And so they've got a couple different diffusers on here for the E9X platform. My particular one, they're calling the AF Design carbon fiber diffuser, but it's basically an Arkham style, and you can see the sale price right there is $200. And like I said, they're Chinese, and so there's some additional charges for shipping. I think overall, after shipping to the US, it was $280 out the door. I got an email from them. They were super responsive. They sent an email saying that it would take maybe about a week to produce, so they made it from scratch, which is kind of cool. And then it was about 10 to 15 business days to arrive here in the US. I think it was actually shorter than that. So I was obviously in no rush, but that's what that one looks like. They've got a bunch of different stuff on here, spoilers and front lips, and see, they've got the GTSV style diffuser there, and they're calling this the AF spoiler, which I think is like a Haman style. A couple different ones, and they've got a Varus type diffuser here.
So yeah, a couple different things to choose from on that website. I know the RW Carbon website has the Arkham style on sale at the moment. I think it's $425. So the benefit there from purchasing from RW is they do a quick quality check, and they're based in the US, so your shipping times are cut in half. So if that's worth it to you, definitely go with them. If you are willing to wait, depending on how this fitment goes on this particular diffuser, I would say take the chance and spend the $200 on the CN AutoFan version. So we'll go ahead now and clean up the bumper and get all the junk off of it, get all the tape and all the caulking off, and prepare the new piece for reinstall.